Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 do's and don'ts of selling a business, not buying a business. Sorry, get those mixed up. They're definitely different. These are important things to remember as you are preparing to sell your business. These are things that if you take care of in the beginning, you're going to be a lot more successful. You're going to get that business sold, and it's going to be sold for a premium. In other videos, we've talked about it, that it's a lot like selling a car, if you will, except for businesses appreciate, cars depreciate. But the idea being that if you get your car detailed and you put the work and the love into it, you're going to get a better price for it than if you just kind of throw it at the dealership and hope that nothing bad happens, so to speak. But anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about today is the 3 do's and don'ts of buying or selling a business. I don't know why my mouth keeps on wanting to say buying. But anyway, I digress. If you're new here, my name is Taylor Darcy from Think Legal, where I help you create the business of your dreams. Now, I want you to think about entrepreneurship and business ownership. There's lots of different avenues that you can come to entrepreneurship and business ownership. That it doesn't just have to be the typical start a business and then do that till you die. There are lots of possibilities out there, and selling your business is actually more common these days than it once was. And there's a lot of reasons for it, because a lot of the big companies, Google, Apple, Microsoft, rather than try to develop the tech on their own, they will, especially in the tech startup world, what they'll do is they'll keep their eyes and ears out for big businesses or businesses that are coming up, and they're going to want to buy them instead. And so these things are going to be key to getting the most money out of your business as possible. But in fact, many years ago, well, I shouldn't say many, but a while ago, I used to drive for Uber as a way to make a little extra money. And I actually had someone come into my car that was from a tech startup in Sacramento, or not Sacramento, San Francisco, Silicon Valley area. And I asked them, I said, well, how can you afford to live up there? It's insane. I mean, for a loft apartment, it's like $5,000 a month. I mean, it really was a crazy amount of money. And he said to me, basically the way that it works up there is that everybody's involved with the tech startups. And what they'll do is they'll become quote unquote rich. And that's when they'll buy a house, because that's the only way they can afford it. They couldn't afford it any other way. So they'll build a business, they'll sacrifice for 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, depending on the business, and then get bought out by Apple, Google, bigger businesses, and then use that money to buy the homes that they were looking at buying rather than trying to rent. And I just thought that was a very interesting story, first of all, and second of all, that, you know, it's more common now. In fact, there's actually a big issue with it, because a lot of businesses are getting concentrated into a few a few number of actors, but have large assets. And so we're really struggling with developing these big businesses, or we're struggling as an economy with developing small into medium into large size businesses outside of those big ones that we already are aware of. Think Tesla, Google, Microsoft, that type of thing. So these tips are good whether you're a mom and pop business wanting to sell, or whether you're a medium-sized business and you're thinking of that you're kind of done and you want to sell if you're a shareholder or whatnot. So, all right, well, let's get started. All right, welcome back. So the one thing that you also have to know about selling your business is that business owners always want to get the most for their money, which I know is like, well, duh, of course that's true. So you need to put yourself in the shoe of the buyer. They only want to pay they want to pay the least amount possible for a business. So you need to make it so that your business is worth so much more than what you think it is to get you to the price point where that buyer is willing to pay for it. Okay. So, number one, the number one thing you want to do is you want to plan ahead by preparing your books, financial reports, contracts, maximizing your company's value. Now, we've kind of talked about this in previous ones, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. Your books, obviously, your accounting books, any type of numbers that you have, because you want to be able to justify to the buyer of your business the price that you're asking. And so what that means is, hold on one sec, forgot to do that. What that means is that you're going to want to be as forthcoming and reasonable with your books as possible. Like I was saying earlier with the car analogy, if your car needs new brakes, it's easier to sell your car if it has new brakes on it rather than having to take a discount on it in order to fix the brakes or get the brakes fixed by the buyer of the vehicle. Now, that's just one instance. What about have you had the car detailed? Is it ready for someone to just drive it and feel like they got a new car, or are you just hoping they don't find out about the oil leak, right? What type of work are you putting into your business in the same vein? Are you developing it in a way that makes someone want to buy it? Because, I get that when you're at that point in your business that you're kind of like have short timer syndrome and you kind of want to be done with it. But at the same time, if you can hold on and do better, build that business more for a very brief period of time, a little concentrated effort there, that you're going to be a lot happier with your with the buy price or with sales price. So the other part, next thing is financial reports. This is going to give you a good idea of not just the value of your business, but the profitability of your business. Is it something that you could somehow remain a shareholder in and get value that way, that you don't have to sell it fully? Like, could you bring on someone else to manage it in order to, continue to generate income? Contracts, it's another point that is super, like, you need to make sure your due diligence is ready and prepared to do. And some of this stuff is going to take you a few weeks, months, quite a while. It could take you a year or two, depending on how backlogged it is, who needs to do it, if you haven't done it, if you need to hire somebody to do it. And so the idea being that you need to have that prepared to go before you get ready to sell, so that if someone says, yes, let's sell, you've got it all prepared. There's nothing worse than saying, I'll get to it, especially if I'm looking to buy a business. Like, I'm not looking to have to reinvent the wheel here, which is why I'm buying a business. So you need to put yourself in the buyer's mindset of what would they want. If you were buying a business, what would you want to out of that? And so by doing this, you're going to have a lot better of an outcome once you are ready to buy. And that kind of leads into the next thing. Expect delays and be patient. Nothing ever goes as fast as you want it to. That's just the truth. You can't force things to happen faster than they're able to be, right? I mean, theoretically, if someone was paying cash for a business, they could plop down the $1 million or $2 million or whatever it is that your business is worth. And you would, you'd have all your due diligence ready to go, and you'd just hand it to them. They'd walk away, hand you a cashier's check for $1 million and you'd walk away. That would be the perfect world. That we don't live in, right? There's going to be issues. They're going to see something they may not like. You might have something in there that's, a little, it's not the best of thing. The best thing I can tell you to do in that respect is, if there's something that's a wash or an issue, disclose it first. Disclose it right up front, like maybe not first, but very quickly after some interest and they've, got some due diligence. Let them know about the freckle or the nothing against freckles. Let them know about the thing that isn't so pretty. Okay. Let them know that this is not a perfect thing. Number one, it builds automatic trust. Number two, why deal with someone that isn't forthcoming, but also if it's going to bust it, wouldn't you rather have the deal fall through in the first little bit rather than weeks, months into it, and then it fall through because they find it, or worse? And I do mean this is a worst case. If there was a lawsuit involved, then it would be a whole lot worse. So you want to avoid any type of misrepresentation. We'll talk about that in the don'ts category in just a second. The next thing, and this is probably the most difficult, and I know you're going to be like, what now? You want to keep your emotions out of buying a business or of selling your business. You've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that. I know. I understand that. It is very difficult to sell something that has been such a large part of your life for however long it's been a part of your life. But here's the thing. The more emotional you get about something, the more irrational perchance that you get, the worse the deal is going to go and the less money you're going to get for it, because people can sense that. The desperation factor. We've talked about this in lending. The best time to get a loan is when you don't need a loan. Same thing goes with selling your business. The best time to sell your business is when you don't need to sell your business, or you're able to look at the numbers objectively and say, here are the numbers. You're not making anything up. You're not attached to it in that respect that you feel somehow that it's emotionally something important to you past that business part. Because here's the thing, the buyer isn't going to feel that way, and they could use that to exploit you. That's why I was saying about with the vehicle analogy, by getting everything cleaned up, taken care of, detailed, repaired, all of these things that you're thinking like, well, if I wanted to do that, I would just keep the car. No. You do that so you get a premium for the car, so you're not getting dinged for it, because it's cheaper more often than not for you to fix the things that's wrong with the car and, properly disclose that than to worry about a lawsuit potentially later. But more importantly, you're going to get a better bang for your buck. And as far as the emotion part of it is, you're just going to have to learn to accept the fact that it's your investment in it is going to be more than just the numbers. It's going to be that emotional, and try to leave it out of it as much as possible. I totally get that's not always possible. All right, let's move on to the don'ts. Don't choose the price. Choose the buyer. I'm sure you're probably sitting there going, what? But I want such and such a money out of it. Here's the thing. As I said a few minutes ago about having a cash buyer is going to want different things and perchance a discount because they're able to pay in cash all up front, versus someone that requires the revenue to do a small business loan is going to have different goals than something else. So there's lots of potential scenarios where, for instance, maybe they can't get an SBA loan. Maybe they have to get a regular loan. And so there's going to be differences between them. So don't be set on the price, because there's lots of different ways that you can get your money. Maybe you take a payout, take a little bit to begin with, and then take payouts each year instead, and then that changes the price because you can modify accordingly. You can discount that price back to current earnings or future earnings and stuff, and make it so that maybe for 20 years you're getting $50,000, $60,000 a year, which is a better deal than, say, trying to get that million all at once and that buyer not be able to do that, right? And so the more flexible you are with your buyer, or as far as that, and the price, rather, the better it's going to go, and you're going to find the best buyer. Because here's the thing. What you don't want to do is have a certain price in mind. It doesn't fit the buyer, but the buyer fits the price. And your business is hurt by it, number one, because that's never a good thing. Or number two, it goes out of business. Or, number three, they sue you for something that you did incorrectly in that because of the bad relationship that you have with that buyer, because it wasn't the right buyer, it was the right price. So take that in context of finding the right buyer is a better idea than making sure you get the right price, because there's lots of options available to you. Okay. You can be very creative in how you sell your business. So I don't want you to think that there's one way of doing something and that you have to do it this way. All right. Next thing is making yourself irreplaceable. That is one of the last things you want to do. You don't want to do that, because here's the thing. If you're irreplaceable and you go to sell your business, then there's no business. So you want to build it so you are easily replaced. Someone could walk into your shoes. You're going to have people doing the jobs that need to be done so that you can walk away when it's time, when someone looks to buy that business. And so you want to have systems and procedures and things that you can duplicate, that are easily modified, that doesn't just live up here, right? The last thing you want to do is have something that it's just in your head and doesn't have anywhere else that it lives. So you want to have like a Wikipedia page, if you will. I have a Think Legalpedia page. Currently working on it. I'm not there yet, but the idea being that you build this website, intranet for your company so that every answer, every question gets answered there. And so people can go and look at this rather than depending on you for that information. The same thing goes with like having other types of systems, CRM, client relationship manager, or customer relationship manager, software that can manage these things so that if you, and not to be morbid about it, but look at it this way. If you were to die today, who would be able to take over your business? If everything lives in your brain, then nobody could take over your business. And that's kind of how you got to look at it when you're buying and selling a business, is that if you are trying to sell your business and you're irreplaceable, then it's not going to be worth much. So the more replaceable you are, the better the price that you're going to sell that business for. It's easier to alienate yourself from that business if you are very replaceable, if it's very easy to replace you, because then you have this ability. Like, for instance, that's why a sole proprietor is the least valuable form of business ownership. An LLC, corporation, all are much more valuable as a business entity than a sole proprietor, because you can't purchase an interest in a sole proprietor. You can only purchase that in an LLC or a corporation. So people think, well, if I'm irreplaceable, if you want to be irreplaceable, go work for somebody else and become irreplaceable to them, because then that way you don't have to ever worry about a job. But in business, if you're looking to sell, so this is why, like, not rushing it, taking your time, doing good things with your business, making yourself replaceable during this time that you're looking to sell will make you a lot more money in the long run. Like, like I said, getting that car detailed. All right. So the third and last thing you do not want to do, because this will end up very badly for you, you do not want to hide or rush anything. Now, I know I talked about in previous episodes how to do it quickly, how to do it within 90 days. You can do it if you've been working at it, if you've been keeping your books, if you've been doing all this due diligence all along, and it's just a simple process at that point. You can do it quickly, but don't rush it. There's a difference, okay? So don't try to force that square peg in a round hole when it comes to the buyer and all of these things that we've discussed. Let it happen naturally. It's not dissimilar to meeting someone to be in a type of relationship with, boyfriend, girlfriend, whomever. You want to make sure it's a good fit, because they are going to take over your business. They are going to have an impact on your employees' lives. They are going to have an impact on your clients or customers. So you want to make sure that it's a good fit. And the more you rush it, the less likely it's going to be successful, and the more likely that you might end up on the wrong end of a business lawsuit, which is expensive, to say the very least. If you've gotten value out of this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and like, and hit that bell icon that's coming up right. Nope, never mind. Subscribe. Now, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.